Hello guys, Nigel here again, Nigel's Land Rover channel, and now we've got part 5 of the Tamiya CC-01 Land Rover Defender 90 build, and this is where we're going to go into doing the rear diff, and we're going to be using parts bag C for all of this and all of this, and this is going to take us from steps 13 to 18, so this is going to involve the diff and the rear axle and everything. We'll see how far we get in this 30-45 minute video, whatever. Also see here we've got the option to have the diff locked, so we'll look at that when we come to it, but first of all we'll assemble the diff as a proper normal differential, and then we'll look at the parts to lock it. So as always, I need to go to my big bag of metal parts and get out bag C. That's D, that's E. You can guarantee C will be the last bag I find. And there's C, that's the heavy one, so we can put those back away. Right, so bag C, and we've got some shafts and everything in there, so if we just cut the corner off of this bag, and then we can empty that into our, we've got bags in bags here. Okay, so we've got shafts and diff housings and some great big long screws and all sorts of gears and all sorts in there. And then we've got some other little separate bags of little bits and pieces. So we'll do the Toolbox thing again. So we'll empty this one out into here. And then we can empty this one out into here. Like I say, this is half of the money in this kit you're paying for bags and staples. Believe me. And then we've got this bag here. So there's all our little bits and pieces and odds and ends and everything. And then all these bags can go in the bin, which is such a shame. They could have put it all in one bag and then we'd have a lot less wastage, wouldn't we? So anyway, there's all those bits in there. So we've got our tweezers here. I haven't unbagged the bearings because, as you know, I've got my aftermarket bearings I'll be using, so I don't need to be using any bearings. And here's my tub of parts that you know I use, and there's our box spanner, and our bearings and everything are in there. So we've got our grease in there too. Right, so let's start on here. What are we going to need? We're going to need 2 MA7s. Now, remember I said these are life size, so we can find these washers. And you can see that fits beautifully over there, and we need 2 of them, and there's one already on that gear. It's building itself, this model. So we've got 2 of those. We need 3 of the MC4 screws, which are a 2x8 screw, and they're going to be silver in colour by the look of it, because it doesn't look like that's been greyed out. Here we go. There's one, and what we can do is put them on there. Like I've said many times before, come here, you can put that on there, and we can see that that is the actual screw. So we need 2 of those, or is it 3 of those? 3 of those. So I'm assuming they're going to be for actually holding the diff casings together. Then we're going to need the spider there. We need 2 of the sun gears. And then we need 3 of the planet gears. There. Okay, so that's enough we've got there for step 13. We're also going to need our diff casing. So we've got our outer casing here and our other casing there. And as you can see, one casing has got the teeth on, you can see there, and one is plain. So we've got those 2 there. So what we need to do now is put all this together and grease it all up. So like I say, we'll start off by doing the actual the proper differential, and then we can look at perhaps locking it afterwards. So there's that rear gear there, or diff housing should I say, and then we've got a washer here, which is basically like a little thrust washer. So I'm going to put some grease on here. And I'm going to stick this to the back of that sun gear. Then we can put some more grease on there, like so. And that will drop into there like that. Then we take the spider. Remember, we did this on the front, didn't we? We take the spider. We're just going to grease those shafts. And then we can put these little planet gears on. Like so, and then turn it around. And we can put that on there. Then we're going to put some grease on this gear here and drop this in. Now what's going to happen is the spider is going to sit in those 3 recesses in the actual housing. You can see we've got 3 recesses there where it sits in. And then we can just turn those to work the grease about. Okay, and then we can drop a little bit more grease on there. You can't have too much. Well, you can have too much, but you know what I mean. We'll just put a spot of grease on there. Take these thrust washers, another spot of grease on there, and then this casing is going to go over the top. Again, you've got those 3 little cutouts, they're going to line up, and obviously your screw holes need to line up as well. So that's just going to drop over the top like so, and for some reason it's not going together, and I don't know why. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, beginning of this series, if something doesn't fit, you're doing something wrong. It's not normally the model that's wrong. There we go, it's gone together now. So obviously there is something just holding that off. So as I say, if something doesn't go together, don't start forcing it and trying to pull it together with pliers and stuff. You've done something wrong. Something else is wrong. So we can now put these screws in with our smaller screwdriver. We can drive these in. Just knit them at first. Oops. There we go. And now we can see that we've got a normal differential, and what I'll do is I'll get these shafts just to show you. So if we put one shaft in there, and we put that one over there, you can see that if I turn this shaft clockwise, this shaft goes anti-clockwise. If I hold the shafts, I can turn them without the diff moving. Okay? So, or if I turn the diff, it will turn both shafts forward, and if I hold one, it will make that other one spin. Okay, so basically now, this is how your differential's working. If this wheel has traction, so obviously this is a sheet of ice and this is a sheet of tarmac. You come along, you drive onto it, this wheel's got traction, but this wheel's just going to spin. So what happens is, your Land Rover engine is driving the differential and spinning that wheel and putting all the power to that wheel, which is where a lock differential comes in. Because basically with a lock differential, you get rid of these gears, which I'll show you in a minute, and you're locking both sides together. So when you drive, basically it will drive both like that, whether they've got traction or not. You can get a torque biasing differential, which will push torque to the wheel that has traction as long as one wheel is not completely in the air. And then you can get for the real ones, you get your air lockers. So basically what you've got with an air locker, like with an Ashcroft, but I'll probably be fitting in mine, you've got a normal differential, which is open, which is great for road use because you need the differential to go around corners and everything, because when you go around a corner, this outside wheel is going to turn faster than this wheel. Okay, if you do a really tight turn, as you can see, this wheel may not turn at all. So you need your differential for that. When you're off-road and you've got a wheel up in the air or something, you don't want all the power to go to the wheel that's up in the air, you want the power to go to both wheels. So you basically lock the differential, so you've got lock diffs. Now you all know we can lock the center diff as well. So we've got basically we've got a differential at the front, we've got a differential at the back, and we've got a differential in the center. Now the center differential is the Land Rover's weak point, and as you know, if you watch my other build series, I'm doing a rebuild of my transfer box with an Ashcroft torque bias and differential, and it takes out all the play and clunk and the weak parts of that diff. So if we imagine we got the center diff locked and we've got normal diffs, then basically what will happen is we will turn both of these differentials at the same rate, because they are basically by shafts and gears, they are locked together. So both the front and the rear diffs will turn at exactly the same rate. If the center diff is unlocked, you could basically have the front wheels on ice and the rear wheels on tarmac, yeah, and you could just spin the front wheels and the back wheels won't go anywhere. So then what you would do is you would lock your center diff and it would push you forward. Trouble with that is, as soon as you get onto good ground, turn a corner, the front and the rear axles want to turn at different speeds, and you get a thing called diff transmission bind, and it all binds up, and you can smash your transfer box to pieces by doing that. So I've gone off on one here, haven't I? So basically what we've got is a normal differential, front and rear, and then we've got the ability with an air locker to lock it and give us the traction that we need. So let's look at fitting these locking parts. Now it's saying in the instructions here you need parts G5, and I can see that part is here. So these are obviously gears that are going to go in and basically lock everything together. Now the big disadvantage in having a locked diff on a real car or a model is it will make it more difficult to go around corners, because the wheels want to turn at a different speed. They will turn at a different speed because they can. If you lock the differential, and when you go around a corner, either this wheel has got to, either the inner wheel has got to speed up and spin to and go faster, or the outer wheel has got to go slower. You can't have the wheels running at different speeds with a lock diff. So that's why you'll hear sometimes cars with a very, very tough limited slip diff, when they pull away, they're kind of the wheels are trying to catch up with each other when you're on a corner, when you're on a corner, turning a corner. So that's one of the disadvantages. And as I say, that's the beauty of a locker, is the fact that you can have a normal diff for everyday use and it'll just drive like a normal car. But then as soon as you need the traction that a limited slip diff gives you, you can lock the diff in and you've got a locked diff. So we'll take these shafts out. We'll strip this gearbox apart. I'm sorry if I went on a bit much there, but some people don't fully understand or grasp what a differential does. And if you're new to the world of 4x4, or you're new to the hobby or whatever, then you may have found that slightly interesting. And I've noticed that the sort of more expensive, the very expensive models, like the Traxxas Land Rover, that has selectable locking diffs, which is awesome. If you look at the Galande 2 or the 3 Reel, is it? 3 Racing, they're Land Rover Defenders. They've got permanently locked diffs. So you don't have the choice. So I don't know what they'd be like to use on tarmac. So we take these gears out because we don't need them. All right, and we fit these in place. So we've still got the sun gear here and the washer and everything, you can see there. And what we're going to do is put these in like so. And then this one's going to go in this side. The screws are falling out. This one's going to go in this side. Okay. And then what's happened is the actual case has got that all locked up. Now it looks like they're giving you provision to put the spider in the middle, but they're not telling you to put the spider in the middle there. I wonder if that spider will fit. Because, I'll show you why. has that hole in the center which gives support to that shaft which is going through there. So I'm not sure if that's going to fit in there and it all goes together. No, it doesn't. So something doesn't seem right here. It's not going together very well. So what I'm going to do is take that out of there and make sure that gear is fully meshed. Okay, that's gone in better now. That's flat. Now this one's proud also. So push that through there. Take that out. Well, I think what it is maybe these, whoops, that was clever. I think it's these sprue nibs that are causing the problem. Let's just cut them off. And make sure that gear's gone in there properly. That's better, it's gone in flush now. So now they will actually sit together flush. Now I'm wondering if I can get that spider in there now. There we go. So you can get that spider in there. So my recommendation would be to put that in because it gives you that guide. You can see the pin, the hole in the center there, that guides that shaft. So we got that screw there going in there. We've got another one here. We've got another one here. And there we go, that's our lock diff. So now, if we put the shafts in, do the same as I did before, that one in that side, that one in that side. Now we've got a locked differential. So if I turn the center, as tight as I hold that, it still turns, okay? And you can see everything is basically locked together. So now it's just basically, it can't do anything as far as a differential goes. So I think I'll leave it like that. The reason being, the downside to having a locked differential, as I say, is steering and being able to go around corners. One of the biggest downsides to this model, and I've noticed is pretty poor, is the awful steering angle. Look at that, that's all you've got. So yeah, not very good at all. So that's going to be absolutely awful for, you know, negotiating tough obstacles and stuff off-road or whatever. So I'm not really sure the capabilities of this is going to be like, but we shall see. So I'll leave that in there. I'm going to leave the differential locked and we'll see how we get on. It's easy enough to take it all apart and change it back should you want to. So yeah, that spider does fit in there. You've seen it live on camera. So I would recommend fitting that spider in there to give that pin a guide, a helping hand, because otherwise it'll take out all the rock in there. So we put those shafts back in our box and we've got our built up diff there. Oh, we need the shafts next. So next we're going to need our shafts. And it's telling us we need 3 of the MA8s. 1, 2, 3. 3 of those. And then it's telling us we need some bearings. Well, obviously I'm going to use my aftermarket bearings. We need this shaft. And we need this gear. If you hear some noise banging around, that's the binman outside. There he goes shouting now. Okay, so I want an 850 bearing. I've only got one of those left, so I can get this one out. And that can go out there. So there's our 850 bearing. And then I want 5 of the 1150 bearings. And I've got 5 in there. So tip them out. There's our 5 bearings. Right, so started doing this. Now again, as I said, it's talking about the greasing and everything for the bushes. We don't need to do that because we've got bearings. So we've got a spacer here, D14. So we need to find D. That's M. I bet that one's D. No, that's C. What's that one? That one's E. That's B. That's our axles that I'm now going to need in a minute, so we'll get those out. There we go, the last two screws I come to, as you expect, D. And I want a D14, which is there. So there's a D14, there's two of them. So I need two of these. One. Two. There we go. So we can put that off to one side. So we need to get these clips on first. Remember I showed you how to do this before. They talk about using pliers. There is a better way, or an easier way. I think a safer way as well, because when you start putting stuff like this on, it can flick off in your eyes, but doing it this way, it shouldn't happen. So there's that MA8 there, a little C-clip. I've got it in the slot there, and all I'm going to do is hold that in place and then get it over the instructions and push down. And I think that's the easiest way to get them on, like so. Push down. Okay, and then that's in place. And then we've got one going on that shaft there as well. And there we go. That's all that together. So that's that on, that on, that on. Now we need to start fitting our bearings. So we've got on this threaded end here, you can see we've got a thread and a hole there. So we're going to fit one of these spacers. Then we're going to fit the 1150 bearing. Job done. On the other end, we're going to fit that bearing. That's just going to sit on there like that. So that's that one built up. Sorry, that's that one built up. Now the long one. So we've got a D14 going on here. 1150 bearing. And an 1150 bearing there. So that's the long one built up there, as you can see. And then we've got this one here. So you can see we've got a long flat and a short flat. So the short flat's going to the back. So we're going to put an 1150 bearing on the back. And then we're going to put our gear on the front, like so. And then a bearing on there. Just like that. So that's those all built up. Now we're going to move across here to the next stage, which is where we're going to assemble it all into the axle. So we'll get this bit done and we'll call it a day for this video. So we're going to get these parts off the sprue. There is a Tamiya hop-up you can get for this, which is a chrome plated axle. I'm not sure if they're metal, but they're certainly shiny, so they may just be plastic chrome plated, they may be metal. But as I said, the disappointment in the steering and everything on this, I'm sort of kind of, I don't think it's worth upgrading this one too much. I think you're better off putting your money into a better model, which I may well do. Right, so we've got two axle housings here. And we can see here the main difference between the two is these large lumps here. Okay, so basically that's the upper half, this is the lower half as we're looking at it now. So we've got the lower half like this, and what we're going to do is take our differential, we're going to grease the splines. Remember, the splines don't rotate, so you need to put grease all over the spline. I'm just going to slide that in and out, and then if you think greasing splines is a waste of time, you don't need to do it. Look up TDCI, whoops, look up TDCI those bearings fell off the end of there. Look up TDCI output shaft, and then that'll tell you whether you need to grease splines or not. Right, so this is going to go in here, and these bearings need to line up. You've got cups in here, you can see one there, one there, one there, and one there, that the bearings are going to sit in. So you need to line up these inner bearings like so. And just drop that in, and there we go. That's all in. There's a bit of end float on there, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. That's not good, the fact that gear can move back so far. So what I'm thinking now is I need to put some spacers in there. So I think what I'm going to do, now if you haven't got the bearings set, you won't be able to do this. So there's another good reason for getting the bearings. So I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to put that bearing on there. And then, oops, and bearings keep falling off. And then I'll put a plastic bush there. And we'll see how that fits. So a spacer going on here, bearing going on there. That's all gone down, that's all together. And there we are, you can see now that diff has no play. Now we just check how this gear meshes up with it. Yeah, so that is, for all your hop-ups you can buy and everything, that is a seriously recommended modification. And I'll show you why, because without it, okay, if we just slide these back, all right, now imagine, no, I'll take it off properly so you know what's going on. So this is how you build it out of the box, standard Tamiya way. If those bearings fall off one more time, right, so that's gone in there, that's gone in there, and then this one's going in there. Okay, so that's how it's built out of the box, right? This is how Tamiya recommends you build it, and that's all the slop and the play it's got in there. So when this gear is engaged, you can see that the diff can actually pull away from those teeth and go out a mesh, and that will eventually cause you an issue. So if you haven't gone for the bearings, find something, a couple of washers or something, but basically I'm using the small bearing on the inner side because it needs to go in that recess, and then I'll use this plastic bearing here, and that can go in there like so. And that will take out all the end float so the diff doesn't float around. Okay, now I have to use, as I said, I have to use a smaller bearing there because you've got this part here, the plastic is sitting in, that bearing will obviously fit in that hole. So there we go. So now that's going to go in there and sit in there and mesh. So now we can put some grease on here. There we go. So that's the grease on there. Now we need 8 of the MA3 screws. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. There we go. So now we can drop the top on. So check we have got enough grease in there. You can't have too much grease on your diff. They do get quite warm, believe it or not. So that's just going to drop on top of there, like so. Hold it together, make sure everything still turns freely. There we go, that's all good. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And we'll just wind these in. And they are very tight going in because of the hard plastic the axle's made of. Don't be tempted to use power tools and stuff on these because you'll strip the threads out of the plastic sooner than you can squash a grape. Is that saying? Hope you're enjoying the build I'm doing on my transfer case, guys. Screws are all falling out. I've been absolutely stunned by the poor quality of the build from the factory. I'm going to be putting part 3, well actually by the time you see this, part 3 will probably already be up, talking about the intermediate gears. What a mess, honestly, what a mess. So yeah, if you've got a later Defender, I mean I think the earlier ones were probably built with a bit of pride. I think the later ones were probably thrown together by machines or whatever. But yeah, then I had a bearing preload, it should be 2000, it's 13, it's just disgusting. And then you can see on my as I say, you've probably already seen it, but as I'm filming this, I'm about to go and film part 3. But what I've found is absolutely terrible. There we go. So that's the axle up together. Just once again, check everything turns nice and smoothly, and it does. So that's that. So we'll call that a day for part 5, and then part 6 we'll get the rear suspension up together, and I'll see you for that. Bye for now, thanks for watching.